sponsors.
We all did that at the same time. We could taste an earthquake or
all those
something.
things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. It's Wednesday night, and this is the Journey Radio Show. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and hey, we're the She-Squatchers. And so I've got my fellow teammates on the line. I've got Jenna Grover.
Well,
Hi, Jenna.
hello. What a treat tonight. I'm so excited.
Me too. And of course, we've got Tammy Trikel.
Hi.
Yay. So all the girls in the house, and we're adding another female tonight in our guest, Montra Withers. Welcome, Montra, to the show. We're so glad you could join us. Come on in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I got to tell you, Richter was the one who suggested you, and I was like, oh, let me look into her. So we were like, wow, she's awesome. Let's have her on the show. So
thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show. So
sure.
Rather than just reading off of your bio and boring everybody with my reading, can you tell us a little bit about your background in the paranormal and Bigfoot world?
Well, I'll try and give you a shorter version than what I sent you, because that was like way, way, way too long. So I've been doing work in the paranormal world since basically I got my driver's license when I was 16 and a half and I could drive. Back in the old days when I had a audio cassette recorder, you know, the little kind that, you know, they're so ancient now. I don't even know if most people know what I'm talking about, but anyway, so I've been doing that for a lot of years, and got into the Bigfooting stuff back in pretty much 99 when I started doing investigations with my best friend Kathy Strain. What got me to that was I had a sighting when I was around 12 or 13 years old, and scared me to death, basically. And I didn't tell anybody about it till much later in life. And my oldest brother had convinced me to go on the internet and put a report in with the BFRO. And I was like, no, I don't want to. No. People are going to think I'm nuts. You know, I'm not going to talk about what I saw. And so he talked me into it, and I did. And got a call back from Kathy Strain. And so her and I got to talking, and started going out and doing investigations together, the two of us. So that's kind of how I got into that. But yeah, I have pretty much equal interest in both. Yeah, so that's kind of how it all got started.
So your interest in Bigfoot came about because you saw Bigfoot. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I had a sighting of something out in the woods. I was camping with my parents in up in Tuolumne County, which is in California, and it's a lengthy story. So I'll try and make it. I don't know why I have lengthy stories. I need to like shorten them all up, give you the cliff notes.
It's
Anyhow,
a radio girl. Help yourself to time.
Well, I was born. No, just kidding. Anyhow, so I was out at this place, and I had met another little girl there who was camping. We were there for a couple weeks, and it was so boring. Oh my God. And so I had nothing to do but just kind of like, you know, hang around at a campground. Met this little girl. She showed me this trail that at the very end of the campground, if you walk out this trail, like about a city block long, right? Little footpath, you'd get to a point where there's a big rock and there's a tree branch over it, and you could get up on the rock and swing over this little tiny stream that was there. So anyway, we played out there for a while and whatnot. So anyhow, I came back in, and my parents didn't know where I was. If they would have known, they probably would have been pretty mad, because they didn't like me wandering too far, and I'd wandered quite far and didn't realize it. So anyway, another day or two went by, and I went to go see if the little girl was still there. at her campsite, and she wasn't there. So I thought, well, maybe she's out there playing on the rock, So went way out there all by myself, and I was not familiar with the woods at all when I was a kid. I was, in a not a track home, but in the city and stuff where I was raised. Never been out anything other than just maybe a horse pasture. That'd be about it, the extent of it. And anyway, went out and walked along this little tiny trail, and I'm just looking around, and it's around noonish, or sometime around there, 1, 2, I don't know. But the light was coming straight down through the trees, so you could see everything really well. Really thick trees. And I got almost to the rock, and I started getting this feeling like I'm being watched. And so my first thought was, oh, she's out here and she's watching me. So I could kind of feel the hairs up on the back of my neck a little bit, but I didn't think anything other than it must be her. So I started looking around, and, starting on my right, I looked around through the trees, and I'm looking through the trees, don't see anything. And I ended up turning all the way around facing the trail I'd just come down. And I'm looking, and there's this tree right there that's probably, I don't know now, 15, 20 feet, whatever, from me, not too far. And I'm looking at this tree, and it looks just like a big brown hairy arm is wrapped around this tree. And I'm not scared at all. I'm just looking at it like, that looks so weird, and I could see 5 fingers, an opposable thumb, and very long dark hair hanging from this, right? And thinking in my small world that, oh, that's just something that looks like an arm. It's not an actual arm, right? So I'm not afraid. So as I'm looking at this, a face peeks out from behind the tree at me, and it's looking right at me. And I could see the sclera, the whites of the eyes, everything. And it peeked out kind of from the side, so I could see the face from about mid bridge of the nose up. And what I saw was very flat, very, very dark, and a lot of just, hairy. Not so much hair on the forehead or anything like that, but just very dark. And when I looked right at it and it's looking at me, I was instantly terrified, absolutely petrified. And so I had to run right by it to get home, to get back to the camper, because the tree was right next to the trail. So now there was no smell, no sound. So I always say this when people ask me about it, but I was not an athletic child. So, running was not my specialty. And
that's not my specialty now. I just had to mention.
Me neither. I hate running. I always have. Anyway, so, but running in fear is a little different. So I had to go right by whatever this was. And I ran as fast as I could. I did not look, like turn my head in there. I ran as fast as I could, and I ran all the way back down and over to where the camper was. So whatever this was, it didn't look like a person. It didn't have a snout like a bear. It had 5 fingers, an opposable thumb. If it was something that wanted to hurt me in any way or kidnap me or whatever, all it had to do was put its arm out and just clothesline me and just grab me as I ran by. So I think whatever it was looking at me more out of curiosity than anything. And one of the things that has kind of shaped my passions, I guess you could say, today, in working with women, which is what you guys do too, out in the field and seeing if there's different results, is that at that time I had just started menses for the first time. So I was just, probably in a cloud of pheromones, and something caught the contrail when I walked by, and probably just kind of followed me to see what I was. I'm guessing. So, but it seems as though I don't know if you guys have had the same kind of experiences too, but when it is that time of the month, as a woman, I mean, kind of everything's on a little different um, level of alert. I mean, there might be a bear that's wouldn't normally come into camp, but it will because of that, and other animals too. So seems to be a draw. Some ways good, some ways bad. Um, but anyway, so I think that's a big factor as an adult looking back and into why that may have happened.
Can I ask you when you said you saw this creature, how big was it? Was it, I
No,
mean, comparable to a 12-year-old who was not
it,
athletic?
it's hard to say because I think it was probably kind of scrunched down, and because when it peeked out to the side, it was, where it peeked out on the tree was not equal to where the arm was. It was above that, but it's still it as far as anatomically, it would have had to kind of scrunch down a little bit to where where it was positioned with the arm. So I I don't know. I would think it would have been, I'm just completely guessing here, at least 5 feet tall, if not somewhere around five-ish to probably a little bit taller. It was not some sort of 8-foot creature by any means. It was probably an adult person size.
Okay, thank you. I was just
So,
curious because as a 12-year-old girl, it's a 12-year-old, 13-year-old girl, I'm sure you were just to be able to run at that point past it. That's what I can't get over.
it was one of those things where you had to. There's no choice. So, um, and I was so scared. I don't know if you've ever been so scared where you can't scream. You probably didn't breathe for a few minutes, but you were just so instantly petrified, and you get that fight or flight. And I couldn't go back into the woods because I know my mom and dad are that way, and that's the safety zone. So I had to do it. And really, bad things could have happened really easily. Um, but at that point and at that age, I'm not the best probably judgment call, but it was what I did. So, I mean, if something happened like that now, it'd be quite different. But
I think you handled it well. But you said it was a 5 or 6 feet tall. Maybe it wasn't a full-grown adult. Maybe it had seen you playing there with the other little girl.
it may have been around in that area for who knows how long. I had heard, now this is completely unsubstantiated, but I had heard, and I want to go back in time and try and pinpoint, get the months narrowed down to the year that I was there. That summer, I had heard that there were some disappearances of children in that area around that time.
Oh.
And so again, unsubstantiated, don't know. Maybe Politis would know, but I don't. So I'd have to really check into it. It's a really thick, deep forested area. And there have been historically tons of sightings up in that area. So it's a really good area. But so if that's true, then I don't know. I think I wouldn't be looking back on it so fondly, I suppose, now, if that's really
Yeah.
true. But
Well, you had mentioned too that you had been into the paranormal ever since you were very, very young.
yeah,
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
sure, yeah. So as a kid, I'm the youngest of five, and my two oldest brothers, when I was a little girl, used to read monster magazines like Fangoria, and at that time, actually, it wasn't even Fangoria. It was I think it's called Monster World or something, and they always were magazines on how to apply monster makeup and just really interesting stuff when I was a little girl. So I always liked the horror stuff, and then they had Vampirella comics, which were out, and Cousin Eerie and Uncle Creepy comics, which my brothers read all that too. And so Vampirella to me was like my idol. I'm like, oh my God, I want to be Vampirella. And the little kids in my school, I was a little weird kid because I was like Wednesday. Nobody really understood me because I'm reading like horror magazines and horror cartoons. And and they want to play with unicorns, right? So I mean, it just was. I was an odd kid, but anyway, so I always liked that kind of stuff where it was spooky stuff. And then as I got older and, learned about ghosts and spirits and started watching whenever they'd have something, In Search of and weird things on TV, I was just completely drawn to that kind of stuff. And I always have been. I don't know why nobody else in my family's like that. But so when I got my driver's license, I got my little, like I said, my little audio cassette tape. And I went to a place in California that's a really neat haunted site, and it's called the Olivas Adobe, and it's over in Ventura in Southern California. And it's kind of like an open museum, kind of, in a way. It's an old adobe that was the first one built out there on the coast, and the Olivas family, they had 13 children, and they lived even though they were wealthy, they lived a pretty rough life because of being on the coast. They had a lot of people that would boat in to rob them, and so they were always having to defend themselves much, but anyway, so I went there and I got my first EVP. And from that point on, I was like, wow, this is so cool because I know it's real. It's a brand new tape. I'm the only one that handled it. So whatever's on there is really something weird. And it was funny because
What did it say?
It was actually in Spanish. And so I had to, so I had to take it to the docent there, who actually turned out to be a really, really cool guy who's been a ghost hunter for a million years, Richard Sennett. And I said, can you tell me what this is? And he said, well, that word means witch. And I'm going, oh, something just called me a witch. What the heck? Well,
Someone's got an attitude.
Yeah. So exorcism.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway.
So basically, it was just one single word that it meant witch. Do you
Yeah.
remember what the word was?
I think it was bruja or something.
Bruja.
I can't remember exactly. Was it bruja? Yeah, bruja. And then, but subsequently I'd gone back again. I don't know if it was probably within the same week or something. And there was one more on there. I had a friend of mine with me at the time, but I was the one holding on to the recorder, and it was a whisper, the second one. And my friend that I was with, her name was Sylvia. And the whisper on the tape said, "Oh, Sophia." And so I could never figure out, did it mean, was it, oh, Sylvia, or was it, oh, Sophia? So again, I asked Richard Sennett, I'm like, was there anybody in the Olivas family named Sophia? Nope, there was nobody there. So I don't know, but it was really breathy, and it was very close to the mic, which was even creepier because I was holding it the whole time. So anyway, that's kind of what got me started. I mean, it's just like you get a little tiny bit. It's like eating one potato chip. You're like, I know there's a bag out there. I'm going to go find it, and I'm going to get all kinds of stuff, so.
Mm-hmm. That's how metaphysical paranormal is. You start with just a little bit, just out of seeing something, and pretty soon you're going, oh, look at all this stuff. Yeah, sorry. I just get so excited. I'm so glad you are so cool. I like you.
I gotta tell Montra. I gotta tell Montra. So on movies where they have the guy who's the hired hitman.
On what?
On movies where they have a guy who's a hired hitman, he often has that big silver suitcase with the padding in it that he's got his sniper rifle in, right?
Yeah.
Jenna has one of those big suitcases with the padding, except it's filled with all of her paranormal equipment and all of her Bigfooting equipment. And she goes walking in somewhere, and I'm like, people are gonna think you're an assassin.
You know what I'm going to send you is like a fake plastic pair of handcuffs, so you can handcuff it to your wrist when you walk in.
Yeah, and then I could walk in a black suit. I'll have to get myself a black female sexy suit, and black sunglasses.
Jenna's luck, she'd lose the key.
Yeah, I would, but somehow I'd get it.
We have to bust it open for you.
Yeah, I do travel with one of those little knives. So I've got
well, there you go.
Called the something knives. The the knives with all the
Pocket
things, the
knife?
court,
Oh, like
the
a like a pen
quartz.
knife, a pen knife kind of thing, or what are they called?
Swiss Army?
Yes, Swiss
Oh
Army.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you
Swiss
very
Army knife.
much.
Yeah. She's
Only
not
the
fucking-
coolest.
Yeah.
I really do travel with one too, because you
Oh,
never know
yeah,
when you're gonna need it. Yes, I do. It's in my purse.
that's true. You never do
Mhm.
know. That's good. That's smart. That's awesome.
She's
So
got everything in her purse.
Because I lose everything, I think Jen's thinking, but I do have a problem with losing things. But enough about my losing things. Let's talk about you losing things. Have you ever lost anything out in the woods?
have I ever lost anything out in the woods? Nothing that I would remember anyway. No. I'm pretty OCD when it comes to stuff, so I like know where everything is. I know if it's been touched. I know if there's a piece of lint on it. I mean, I'm like one of those people. So, but no, I never lost anything out in the woods, and I can't. I don't think I've ever lost anything ghost hunting either. Now that I think about it, but I've lost things temporarily in my own home many times.
Oh, tell
You
me
know,
about it.
like my car keys and.
The favorite line of a woman over 30. What am I in here for? What was I
Yeah.
gonna get?
I
That's
say
a
that
big
probably
one.
once a day. Yep.
Yeah.
What did I just
Oh,
come in
yeah.
here for?
Yep.
Turning into my mother. Yep.
hmm
So.
Well, so you went from paranormal to
Mhm,
Bigfoot. What do
mhm.
you think Bigfoot is? Like, do you think it's an animal, a creature, alien? I mean, where are you? What kind of things are you thinking about here?
Well, I've always have been, I should say, in the camp of it's a flesh and blood creature, animal of some kind. However, um, there's so much weirdness that surrounds the Bigfoot phenomena that I had a very good friend of mine who he's traveled the world. He's been doing ghost hunting for many, many years, continues to do it now. Um, and actually he went with my fiance Kyle and I to Skinwalker Ranch last year in September. Barry Fitzgerald, he's a really cool guy. He used to be on Ghost Hunters International, and anyway, great guy.
I
And
love Barry. I love him
he's,
too.
he's so yeah, he's like the most awesome guy I've met in just a very, very long time. He's a complete encyclopedia. He's such a wonderful, knowledgeable guy, and he's so humble, and that's very charming because he doesn't have a huge ego like a lot of the people that have been on TV shows. And I won't say anything else about that.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
There's so, but
We've met all of them.
have you?
Yes.
I remember I digress. I was going to say I had won some raffle and it was a signed shirt. It was, it wasn't like I was starstruck by any means because I don't get that way. And I was just like, oh great, thanks for the shirt. And they were all signing it, and it was the strangest thing because I was like I was invisible. They wouldn't look at me, they wouldn't acknowledge me, like, hey, hi, no. So I've had some experiences with people like that, and I mean, just acknowledge me as a human being standing there, So anyway, I digress. But so Barry has kind of, because I've always got 1,000 questions for him because he's been so many places and knows so much. And I had asked him at one time, do you think all of these different types of phenomena, UFOs and Bigfoot and ghosts, are they all connected in some way? And he said, in his mind, yes, they are. That is his belief that they all do coexist somehow. He doesn't know. I certainly don't know. And I don't think anybody knows how those pieces fit together. I don't know if we'll ever know in our lifetimes, but there are pieces of each phenomena that do overlap. And I don't know why, but that's one of the reasons why I go out to try and figure it out. It's there's balls of light and orbs and things, and one of the cool things, you guys are familiar with Skinwalker, right? Skinwalker Ranch. Okay. One of the cool things about that place is that it has all of that stuff. There are Bigfoot creatures. There are strange creatures that they don't know what they are. they've got balls of light, they've got UFO activity, they've got it all there. And why is everything at this one location? It just, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. So the only thing that I don't think I've heard of there is some sort of spirit phenomena, like seeing a ghost or something like that, or you know, some sort of ectoplasmic figure or something. But other than that, everything else is there. So long-winded answer to your question, but I think that there are some sort of otherworldly connections. I don't know what they are. So I used to believe that Bigfoot was a flesh and blood creature. I still think they are. Where they come from, where they go, that I do not know. I thought at one time, oh yeah, they live in caves, or oh yeah, they live, you know, yeah, there's just too much stuff that I've either witnessed or heard of from very reputable people that it doesn't make any sense. So what do you guys think?
We've experienced the lights quite a bit. And I'm part Native American, Ojibwe, some people might call it Chippewa, from northern Minnesota. And I've had some encounters with the lights in the water, but they fly up out of the water, you know. So, but that, you know, in the Native way up there, they're very comfortable with that, and they call them water spirits. So, and so when I see the orange orbs in the sky that are the really common UFOs, the classic orange orb UFO, you know, that's the same thing I've seen in the water up close and personal. And they're not a ship. It goes right through solid things. You know, I have video of one going right through reeds, you know. Yeah. So definitely not a solid thing, but an energy, and definitely aware, very aware, and can communicate. So, you know, I tend to think that those are water spirits, that they just come up out of the water and they go back in the water later. And how they're connected to Bigfoot, I did have a Native man from my tribe who was telling me online that Bigfoot is connected to those, but wouldn't tell me unless we sat down in person. And we haven't been able to do that because of COVID right now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, but I want to know now what you're going to tell me about that, because I want to know what that connection is. Never heard somebody say that to me from the Native aspect before, that they're connected. So, but, you know, we've been looking for Bigfoot in a place where one had been spotted. And so we were like, we couldn't get out there because it was a marshy bog and we couldn't get permission to walk on it, on that land. So we were scoping it out from afar with Jenna's amazing binocular that can see far away in the dark. And so we're watching it, looking for the Bigfoot, right, that somebody reported as seeing walking between these two sets of trees in the middle of the bog. And instead we caught some weird lights. So, you know, we're having experiences where we're looking for Bigfoot and we're encountering lights, and sometimes also interaction at the same time, like rocks or whatever. So that's interesting for us. And we hear a lot of others who also report that they're having experiences close together or at the same time. And in one particular area in Minnesota that we've investigated, where it's very close to where we filmed the strange lights when we were looking through the bog at night, that the local Native people there say that when the green lights appear, that's how they know that Bigfoot is near, because then they soon see Bigfoot.
Oh, wow. So they're green.
Sometimes they're green, yeah. The one that we saw was white.
Okay.
But another lady and I had been dropped off in the woods. We had some guys with us and nothing was happening. So I'm like, let's ditch the guys. So we just had them drop us off and drive away. And we just kept radio walkie-talkies to call them back to where we could be picked up. And so we just walked deeper into the woods from there, and they had sat down the way and they could kind of see where we were at when we would turn on lights or flashlights. And the lady's husband said that there was a green light above the trees that was like following us for like 30 minutes. And he's like, I'm sure that you must have seen it. I'm like, did you film it? He's like, you have all the cameras.
Oh, cool. Not crud.
I was like, oh man. And so he said it was
Yeah.
like following us, but just above the trees. We didn't see it.
Okay.
So, but we were right in where there had been an encounter. And it was very close to where we had an experience as well, with rocks being thrown and something coming at us. So, I mean, it was a intense area, and we were out there in the very dark. Very cool. We're at the half show break, so we're going to have to go to our break. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 2 minutes, everybody. Very cool. So we're on break. We just have to listen for Sarge to tell us we're back. But
I still want to go to Skinwalker Ranch.
I do too.
It's funny because when we were approaching it, so it was kind of like I'd been wanting to go there. It was on my bucket list for forever. And when we were getting close and we could kind of see it in the distance, I was like more excited and happy, like woohoo, and then Kyle was kind of like feeling like, kind of more like dread in this weird way. We both reacted in different ways. It was funny when we got there, and I was like, I don't feel anything creepy. I don't feel anything weird. It feels fine to me, And not that I'm a sensitive. It's just that I would just expect it to be like, oh, feel creepy and weirded out. No, not at all. Not at first. Of course, as soon as the sun goes down, things get a little creepier out there. So there were strange lights. There was a blue ball of light that was going in and out of trees down in this other area where we hiked down to. They had put, unfortunately, and I was warned about this because they knew I'm real sensitive with animals and stuff, that they had put some animals in the bait pens. And that I might hear some things I might not want to hear. So anyway.
How did that go? Because that's something that I have a hard time with too.
I have a really hard time with that. I think it was the last night. I can't remember. It was last night we were there. Anyway, they had cut all the lights over at the ranch. And
okay, hang on.
Oh.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Journey Radio Show. And hey, we're the She-Squatchers. Why don't you check us out online at she-squatchers.com. And come on over to Facebook, She-Squatchers Official, and give us a like on our page and follow us there for all the current what's going on with us. And hey, we also have a YouTube channel. Would you please come subscribe at She-Squatchers Official for all of our videos that we put up there. But hey, that would be awesome. And today we have Montra Withers with us. Montra Withers sounds good too.
Maybe I'll change.
This is good. I have a friend named Winter, so that's where it's going with that. Sorry. And I'm so excited to experience with us a little.
Oh, I think I lost. I didn't hear you there for a sec.
Oh.
Yeah, Jen, I think we're losing you a little bit. Tammy, did you hear any of that either?
Nope, just bits and pieces.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to try it again? You sound okay now, Jen?
All right. Well, we're back. We're back to the show, and we wanted to hear more about this visit you did to Skinwalker Ranch.
Okay. Well, we were there for a few nights, and well, there was when I was just talking about it here on the break a minute ago, but on the way to the ranch, so right for us anyway, when we were in the car and we were approaching it, and you can kind of see it, and it's coming up, and you're going, okay, it's going to be really creepy, and it's going to be so weird, and really it kind of wasn't. I mean, it was just daylight too, but when driving up, it was like I was more excited than anything, like woohoo, I'm actually here, it didn't really get creepy for me anyway until probably nightfall. I think when you're out there and there's just you and a bunch of blackness and some strange lights, and you're starting to go, okay, so what is that light over there that's like zipping around weird, and Barry was with us. He was filming, which was good. He caught some really neat things on camera, just some light anomalies up in the sky. There were weird, I don't even know how to describe it, but there's a ridge, of course, that's behind the ranch, on the ranch, and there would be like, and there's no roads up there, and there would be almost like somebody turned a spotlight up onto the ridge where you'd see kind of like a circle of light, or just an illuminated area, like somebody put some sort of landscaping light or something up there, for a time, and then it would go off. And it was weird stuff like that. Nothing that you can put your finger on, just strangeness. When we were out there too, this was, like I said, back in September, and there were people that were up in the daytime. They were up on the ridge, and they were all standing up there. I don't know what they were doing. We were looking at them through binoculars, but they all looked like they were going wine tasting or something. They were all dressed, nicely, and we're thinking, what are those people doing up there on that weird spot up on the ridge that you can't even really get to? I don't know how they got up there. They're just strange things like that. I mean, they were people. They weren't like some sort of weird shape-shifting thing. They were obviously people, but it was just very, very strange. There were two people that had been following us, which at first I was like, there's nobody following us. But then I realized, yeah, they were, because they would park just where they could see us at a distance, and they were watching us with binoculars. Daytime, nighttime, the whole time we were there. Even at the hotel when we first got there, there were two men, and they were in the lobby, and I didn't pay much attention to them. And they were sitting there watching the TV, but I did notice that they were watching the Weather Channel, which I thought, oh, that's boring, So anyway, went in, got our rooms, and we got all set up, and then came back down, and we saw those two guys a lot of different places, and they always seemed to be very close. So it was just things like that. I'm thinking, what do they care about us being here? We're not going to do anything. We're not anybody. We're not like, but they were, I guess, just keeping an eye on what we were doing, what we were filming. And it was just weird. So there's a guy who, him and his wife have they are on the property next to Skinwalker Ranch, and they've had some activity as well. We had spent some time talking to them, or talking to the husband, and I don't know, I think it was like within the past week or something, or maybe 2 weeks prior to us coming out, he had seen 3 very tall Bigfoot looking creatures that were messing with the motion lights on this little, it's like one of those little, like a cabin, like a pre-manufactured cabin you can kind of roll onto your property, just a square, really nice little thing. But they had put lights up on the top corners. And he said these things were taking the lights and pulling them around and yanking them off. And they were able to stand and do it. They weren't up on anything. And those were pretty darn high up. Wow. So he said whatever these things were, they were really tall and big. And kind of scared him a little bit. So.
And that was close to Skinwalker Ranch.
Right next to the fence that borders Skinwalker Ranch.
When you were at the ranch, was there a lot of other people there with you, or was this just kind of a thing where you and a few other people went? Because I thought there was a lot of people, like there's groups that went. I wasn't sure if you were in a group.
What we did is, so Kyle and Barry and myself, we rode in together, and then Jackie from Paranormal Journeys, that I co-host the show with her and Anita and Johnny from the show. Johnny's a camera guy. He's really cool. Anita's one of the directors. They came out as well. So there were 6 of us. And I think that's everybody. I hope I'm not missing anybody. But anyhow, so we weren't really that big of a group. And just kind of like able to do whatever we wanted out there, basically. And we brought lawn chairs and, to sit out all night thinking we're just going to stay right here,
Yeah, you're
And-
going to see so much in this lawn chair.
Yeah. It's going to
Well, I
be
hear
like,
people, yeah,
yeah.
well, I've heard people walk around in back. You know how they take a little stroll. Did you walk around anywhere back there?
We walked around where we were. We're right on the border and we can see the ranch house and everything of Skinwalker Ranch. So we're right on the edge, not on the ranch itself, because that's when you get yourself in big trouble. So not like, paranormally, but legally. So this property is the bordering property. So you can go right up to the fence and go, okay, I'm going to put my binoculars right on the house. It's really amazing. And I was kind of a little bit starstruck at first. I'm like, wow, this is just like the cover of the book, but we did walk around quite a bit. And again, weird, but nothing you can really go, this is evidence, So walking down this one path, again, that borders the property, there was a boar that was just appeared out of nowhere that was dead. And from what I understand, I was told that boars, I guess they don't have any boars in Utah. They're not supposed to. They don't allow them there. I don't know, wild pigs or whatever. So it was super unusual that this animal would be there laying there dead. And probably the weirdest thing about it is the head was missing. And there were no bugs on it. And it was obviously dead for a while. Maybe, I don't know, a week or two, something like that. So it's rotting, but it's not. It almost looked like its skin was, it was just in such a weird state. It was almost like nothing would touch it to eat it. And there's coyotes and all kinds of animals out there, and nothing wanted to touch that thing. There's flies, there's these big giant red ants, that have the big ant hills and stuff that will take stuff and totally dissect it and everything. Nothing would touch that thing. So I didn't have any kind of Geiger count or anything with me, but maybe it was radio. I don't know. Maybe who knows what. But
Did it smell like a
Nope.
normal dead animal?
Did not smell, at least from the distance of me standing and it being at my feet. Didn't smell anything.
You said the head was
Head
it
was
was
missing.
decapitated. Was
Yeah.
that a straight, or was there more like a maybe like a burn to it, or was it just like a
The cuts on this thing it was opened, like the body cavity was opened. The cuts looked like surgical cuts, like a very straight, very sharp instrument of some kind.
That's so unique.
It was just, but again, it's one of those things you're like, well, that's really creepy and weird, but
But
well, I don't know what it means, but there it is. Okay, take a picture, move on. I mean, what do you do, right? So anyway, we're walking down the same path, and and remember, we're out in the middle of kind of nowhere, and there's a woman's shoe, and we're looking at like it's a woman's high-heeled shoe, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, there's just one. It's not like somebody had a Goodwill donation center out here somewhere, because that didn't happen. It looks like it's probably been out in the weather for maybe, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years, maybe max, because it's not rotted. It's just slightly bleached out. And it makes you go, what? How did that get there? And because if you're walking out there, you're not going to be in those kind of shoes. And for one, and it's one of those things that you just kind of scratch your head like, well, I don't know, So went down the road a little further, and this was in the daytime. Nighttime, went down that same road, and on one side of it at a distance, there's kind of a little grove of trees, and I don't know what kind of trees they were, but when we were standing there, really dark out, there was a big blue, it's hard to tell the size because it was at a distance. It appeared to be bigger than a basketball, but I don't know the depth because I don't know exactly how far it was away. Excuse me. But it was going in and out of the trees because you could see a tree open. So, and it was just kind of bobbing around and then bobbing around back and kind of going around, and it was doing that for the whole time we were standing there. And it was a very bright blue, very brilliant looking blue. And at that time too, this was something else that was really, really weird. Let's see, who was with us? It was Johnny. So there were 4 of us that walked out in the night down that trail, and Johnny, our camera guy, and I think it was Ryan who was with us, and then who's the owner of the property, and Kyle and myself, and Ryan and Johnny both started losing their balance a little bit at the same time. And they said they felt like they were kind of like they were on earth ground that was moving, like they were just kind of going like this. And it was really weird because they both kind of at the same time were like, what is? They both looked kind of confused for a second or two, and like, what's going on? And Johnny says, I feel like the ground is like rolling or something, Do you guys feel that? I'm like, no, I don't feel that. But Ryan did. So 2 of 4 of us, felt something strange like that. And again, there's no explanation for it. If it would have just been one person, it would have been like, yeah, you had a weird sandwich for lunch or something, so,
Yeah.
But it wasn't. So, it's such a strange place. And there were times when it just feels like you shouldn't be there. And I can't really explain it. It's just the feeling like, and maybe it was myself psyching myself out or something too, but it was a heavy feeling like you are not welcome here, and you should not be here.
Really?
It's just a feeling. Yeah. Nothing, no kind of mind speak or anything. That's it was just a very heavy feeling at times. Enough to where you kind of go, oh, man, something really maybe could happen out here, something horrible, and who's going to know? Because there's nobody here but us. And, whoever's over there, the armed people that are armed guards and stuff they had at Skinwalker Ranch, they're not going to say anything. So I don't know. But
well, if the She-Squatchers go out there, will you come with us and show us around?
I would be happy to. I would love that. That would be awesome.
Yay. Thank you. I just had to push that in. Now you're stuck. You have to. No. There's proof.
I'd love to.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
That would be super fun. I'd love to go out there.
Yeah, it's really an interesting place. It's worth visiting. We also went, Barry and Kyle and I went over to, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it's a really neat place about maybe half hour, 40 minutes from there, from Skinwalker Ranch. And it's, and I wish I would have reread this because now I can't remember the names of the tribe. I'm terrible. My memory is like really crappy sometimes. But there's all these rock art, all this these petroglyphs, and just amazing rock art from this tribe that lived out in the area. And the tribe itself, I guess, were headhunters. So I guess you wouldn't want them as your neighbor, but apparently at that time they had inhabited that whole area down there in the Uinta Basin. So again, I don't remember the name of the tribe, and I can't remember the name of the park where those are at, but I'm sure you could find it if you look like on Google Earth or Google Maps or something. It'd probably pop up as something. I think, what was it? It was called. There's one of the drawings in particular that it's named after, I think. Anyway. Really worth seeing. If you do end up going out that way, just if you have family or something, you're in Utah, that is really a spectacular thing to see. I haven't seen much like that ever, with that amount of drawings and things. So
did you see anything equivalent to like maybe Bigfoot? Sorry, Jen. In the drawings?
No, but there were quite a number of spirals, which can be interpreted. Again, I don't know what that was to them, but in some tribes interpreted them as portals. So it's hard to say what they meant, but there's quite a few things like that.
Is it the Utah's Dry Fork Canyon petroglyphs? Is that the area?
Fork Canyon. That does ring a bell. That Dry Fork Canyon.
I found an article about the severed heads tell a violent mystery at Utah's Dry Fork Canyon petroglyphs.
That's probably it, yeah. But it was something else. It was what the name of the area is. It's the Three Kings. I think it's the Three Kings.
Okay.
I think that's what it was. For some reason, that sounds right.
Exciting. I'm gonna.
Yeah. So, it's there's a lot of neat things to see out there, and there's some other things too that Barry had, not to keep bringing up, but he is such a wealth of knowledge while we were out there too. But he had also brought up something that I found really interesting that he had discovered, which is there are different websites out there that you can look at the like the magnetic fields and stuff for the Earth. And you can see like, oh, here's my house, on the map. And I can see that I'm in an area that's, it's kind of purple and it has rings of pink, and then it dissipates and goes to blue or green or whatever. Well, he has figured out that the areas with really heavy paranormal activity are a specific color. And so he had looked at the map and looked at the Uinta Basin and where Skinwalker Ranch is, and that place is in that color, like supernova color, and some of the areas that Kyle and I do our Bigfooting investigations out here in Washington, those areas, it was really funny because we're looking at the map, I'm like, holy cow, it totally makes sense, because these are areas with really high, high ratings here, and they are the areas that we've been doing experiments and research for quite some time now. So there is some sort of a tie-in with that. Again, I don't know what it means, but it seems to be a lot more than coincidental. So
Did you say that app was just something that you can get, or do you have to purchase it, or did he come up with it?
No, it's out, and it's a Google. Let me see if I can find it here, and I can send it to you guys maybe afterwards. But
that would be awesome.
It shows you the magnetic fields. I believe it's just magnetic fields, but it's for the Earth, so you can kind of pinpoint it down. Like I'll put in, the town that I live in, and which happens to be a color that I wouldn't want it to be, because I don't want my own house to be haunted. But I'm like, well, that explains a few things. But it's very interesting. So it might help you guys too when you look at areas that you've had activity and people are giving reports about certain things. Look it up and see if that's on the map as being a very volatile area. So
I am so excited.
So what's the color that we're looking for?
I believe it's pink. I'd have to look at it. I haven't looked at it in probably 6 months, but it'll show you the areas of the highest concentration.
All right.
And also those areas too, because Barry, like I said, he's done tons of studies on this stuff. For example, where those headhunters are or were in that area that we were just talking about, it's populated now. There's houses and stuff, and there's a city right there. They're on the edge, where that park is. But the ratings for suicides, crime, depression, just everything bad you can pretty much think of are much higher in those areas when they're populated. For whatever that's worth, I don't know. So maybe it's just some sort of negative energy. Maybe, again, hypothetically, maybe whatever magnetic force is more of a draw for negative energy. I have no idea. I'm just throwing stuff out there, but there's got to be a reason. Don't know what it is though. So, so it's interesting. Yeah, look up your houses when I send it to you.
Definitely.
I know I will.
To. We're actually
all three of us are going to probably going.
Yeah, we're actually gonna. This week we're actually going to a place that I have done a paranormal investigation in before, and as I kind of entered the woods adjacent to this place, I was like, I'm getting like a Bigfooty vibe out here, and then I got a report within like months of that there was what somebody thought was Bigfoot activity out there.
Yeah.
at night. So we're gonna go check it out.
Well,
So it'll be fun
can I
to.
make a suggestion to see just add one thing into the stack of stuff that you guys are doing out there is try taking a recorder with you, not just to get Bigfoot audio, but see if you get EVPs in that area. There have been some pretty active areas where, like I said, there's just a whole potpourri of activity of different kinds. And so if you do run into something that, if you play it back and you're still there, that you might be able to interact with, it might be interesting to see how far you can get with that. So if you haven't already. So
Actually, Jen was just telling me, I asked her, I said, what kind of equipment do you want me to bring? Because I mean, I have that great big silver case, so I kind of have a variety. And she said, just bring it. She said, bring things for Bigfoot and then bring things for the paranormal for, you know, readings and things. So
yeah,
how ironic.
We're gonna do a hike in the day and then choose our spots. And I think we're gonna do a sit at night in the dark.
very cool. You know what?
If
you can, just a suggestion, but if you can take dowsing rods with you, take those to pick your spot.
I've got 2 sets, Jen.
There you go.
I am so we've so got this. I'm so excited. Girl, I wish you lived closer. We would so snatch you up and make you come out with us.
I know you're on the West Coast, but where exactly are you?
I'm in Washington. I moved up here 2.5 years ago from California. So yeah, I'm in.
Do you love it?
I really like it here a lot. I moved up here to be with Kyle. It was either me move up here or him move up down there, and I ended up getting the short straw, so I came up here. So, but it's really nice up here. I really, really like it. The people are really friendly. I love having the 4 seasons. Because in California, especially Southern California, it's quite different.
It's
but,
hot.
Well, it's hot, and then in the fall you get what we used to call, it's still there, the Santa Ana winds. So you get like this hot wind, and as a kid, and I have to wear contacts. I remember when I first got my contacts in high school, I'd be like, oh, it's like sand, you can't see, and so it was miserable every fall. But up here, the trees change color. There's just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful up here. So
Then
beautiful.
You got the right end of the stick.
I actually did. And the Bigfooting up here is different. It has a different flavor to it, if that makes any sense. The Bigfooting that Kathy and I did in California, compared to that, up here, it's weirder. I don't know why, but it just is. It seems like there's just more, it's denser, let me put it that way. In California, when we did Bigfooting and stuff, there was weird stuff, but it wasn't as creepy. It didn't have the same feel to it. There'd be times when it was a little scary and stuff, and quiet actually in some places. But up here, there's just this different kind of vibe to it. I'm not quite sure what it is.
That music is telling us we are at the end of the show. So Montra, could you please tell our listeners real quick where they could find you if they want to contact you?
Well, you can find me in a couple of places. The best place to find me is just on Facebook. Just look me up, Montra Withers, Facebook. You can also find, you can contact me through Columbia Sasquatch, which is totally outdated. Oh my God, I have not updated it in like way too long. But that's Columbia Sasquatch is another way to find us. And also, if you're on Meetup, you can go through Tri-Cities Paranormal, which is a group I run here locally. Or you can always go to Paranormal Journeys on Facebook and get a hold of me that way. That's the show that I do down in Fresno. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you'll come on again because I just feel like there's so much more you've got to share, and we'd love to have you back.
I'd love to talk to you guys again. Thank you so much for having me. If you ever come out this way, we would have so much fun. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Totally.
We're going to have a girl trip.
Gosh. That would be awesome.
So in.
Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you next week right here on The Journey. Good night.
Night, everybody.